Hello, hello, welcome. It is 5D Transformations. We are here and we're going to talk about the ESFPs. Very happy to be talking about this type. I think this is one of the types that don't get as much credit in the MBTI community, but they're out there and they're types that really are fun, playful, and very intelligent. you know but their intelligence is infuses real life sensory experiences, and that's what makes them so unique. Is of all the types, they're probably the most experiential. I'd say them and ESTPs, and it's going to be fun to kind of just talk about them. So let's get started. So they are outgoing and spontaneous individuals who thrive in the spotlight. They have infectious energy and enthusiasm. And let me just say, all ESFPs don't want to be in the spotlight, but it's more so that they have this natural gravitation. Um, they're funny. They're willing to communicate. They're social, and that by nature makes them the types of people that people gravitate to. They excel at captivating audiences and creating memorable experiences. They have an ability to live in the moment and adapt to new situations. And I mean, that's huge. And that all connects to their first function, which is extroverted sensing. This type's first function is extroverted sensing. So they have a very close interplay in relationship with reality and the things around them. They want to test the environment. They want to test their limits. They want to see what's possible. And that's what they do. From a very young age, they're out there interacting with the ground, the land, the environment, and wanting to learn and explore, what's around them. They are natural entertainers and they're charismatic leaders. And I think people got to understand with ESFPs, they have very strong leadership qualities. ESFPs have the capacity to be great leaders if they push themselves. And that will really boil down to their third function, which is extroverted thinking, and their fourth function, which is introverted intuition. But especially with extroverted thinking, if they're willing to apply their extroverted thinking and really, you know, try their best to be, utilize that to be successful, they're going to be able to do some very intelligent things because extroverted thinking is a very rational function. So even though they can come off to people like they're playful, like they're very physical and grounded on earth and like, not really talking about deep subjects, you'll actually be surprised that ESFPs can talk about some very deep and higher concepts because they have that introverted feeling second that can feel very deeply and connect with different ideas. They have that dreamer element in them, that feeling. And when you combine that with the, extroverted thinking, they then begin to apply systems and logic toward getting where they want to go. And they can be very successful in that regard. So, ESFPs have a lot of different flavors. A lot of the time they can be athletes. They tend to be very physical. They have extroverted sensing. So a lot of ESFPs are the types that like to work out, like to be physical, utilize their body, be trainers, be athletes, or things of that nature. And so you get different flavors of ESFPs. But let's check out these guys and see if we notice anything here with the ESFPs.
We'd be a little more professional here. You're laughing all the time. I got things to do. I was a bit of a smart ass. I was 16 years old. I learned my lesson. And Bob takes me aside and he goes, a certain line, jokes. He goes, you shouldn't cross that line because sometimes you can't get back.
That's right. That's right.
So I sit there and I come back in my chair.
So you can see the playfulness, and I don't know if Leonardo DiCaprio for sure is an ESFP, but what we can say is in this video, you can see his ability to communicate, and he's using his body, his expressions, acting, and that's how he's able to make people laugh. And you see how he's playful and willing to entertain the group. Like that's what ESFPs they have.
And my heart is like down to my butt, and I'm just sitting there.
Yeah.
Did I mess up? And
that's the reason you'll never be back on Romper Room. It goes on your permanent record.
So 2 takes later, they nailed the scene, and I never actually figured out if he was really angry with me or if he wanted to just change the tempo. I have a feeling it was a little.
But I think that was interesting because what you get to see there is when the guy brought in an idea, he's like, yeah, it's like something. He's talking about something else, kind of bringing in a new idea. He's staying grounded with whatever he's talking about. It's harder for him to delve into random ideas because he has that extroverted sensing. Extroverted intuition is their weakest function. So they're not really dealing with a lot of different ideas. They tend to like to hone in on one thing at a time, one main idea at a time. And you can see here, this is what you're seeing with him expressing this.
But he forgave me for it, actually, at the end.
Good.
He took me out, and we had a bunch of pies and stuff.
It was a willowy kind of little person. And now, I was watching you on the television before I came. You're blossoming into quite a supermodel.
Well, thank you. I'm going to now go red on national TV. Just not
really
good. Excellent.
So I was thinking, and I know I said this before, but I live in LA.
Yes.
My name's Robbie Williams. I'm Aquarius. I'm single. I hear you're newly single. Why don't we get it on? Come on, me and you.
Now you see the playfulness, that extroverted sensing. He's very engaged in his experience. He's not seeing all the extra stuff. He's like locked in on her. But this is funny. Even when you see his body language, the playfulness of it, and that honest communication, that's how ESFPs are. Their communication tends to be direct. They're not very passive aggressive. They can be because they have introverted feelings second, but they prefer to kind of just get things off their chest and be, direct. So that's pretty interesting.
I don't know if I want to do this on national TV.
Oh, come on. It's funny. Listen, the moment you have a date with me, it'll all be over on national TV anyway. So why don't we just get it on now in front of everybody?
We'll save it for when the cameras are off, because now I have to throw back to Jonathan in the studio, I believe. But I'll carry on chatting here. It's fine.
Just that. All right. If it was just that, it would be easy to say. But there's more to it than that. And the more to it than that is this, is I don't think when it comes to the average moviegoer, I'm not talking about the film fanatics. I'm not talking about the movie junkies. All right. I'm talking about the average moviegoer. I don't think after Kill Bill Volume 1 is over, the average person in this first view of the movie wants to see another 90 minutes. I think you're ready. I think you're ready to go home. Actually, I don't think you're ready to go home. I think you're ready to go to a bar with whoever you saw it with and have a couple drinks and talk about it. And I think that's the thing. Now, I'm a movie junkie. All right. And I equate movies like Kill Bill, the way it works, with either sex in terms of an orgasmic experience or drugs, as opposed to, in terms of
as you can see, as an ESFP, that expression is primal. It's coming back to things like primal urges. He uses his sensory primal urges as a means to be creative. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't have a bunch of intuition to think of all these ideas. So he's still pulling from a source in order to be creative. Because what people miss about ESFPs is that they're very creative. They have introverted feeling as a second function. That is the creative function. And they have extroverted thinking. So they're thinking differently and objectively about what's around them. They want to affect what's around them. So, but where's that inspiration? Where's that creativity? What is it coming from? And in this case, I love that he's using sensory things that we can all feel with our senses to drive his art, so that's very unique.
the high that you experience. All right. Movie junkies could handle 3 hours of Kill Bill. I think the average movie goer would overdose with 3 hours of Kill Bill.
Cute. She ain't white. That's what I heard for the next 4 years of my life. Girl, you ain't white. I'm like, I'm pink. We're all pink. Like, I don't get it. Why can't I be white and sing like this? But,
you just see the raw communication. ESFPs, they're sensory, they all have this kind of down to earth vibe, about them. That's very interesting. A lot of the guys they can look like the bad boy, or the girl can look like a rebel. They can carry that energy at times, and that's a part of their aesthetic. I think that's what makes them very magnetic and attractive to a lot of people.
at first it would be booze, and then it would be kind of like questioning, and then it would be like, okay, she can sing, she ain't white. So it went from you dumb white girl to she ain't white, we like her, she got a black daddy.
Well, Macklemore, we gotta hear you spit. All right. So whatever you ready. There's no beat or nothing like that.
Cool.
Okay.
No
beat. What kind of DJ?
Nah, that's cool. I can go acapella. Me and Ryan were on the road
smoking out at 45.
All right.
To start, are you married?
I am not married.
You can see the introverted feeling. She's feeling it. You know, there's every type is different, but when you see the crowd giving her those cheers, that introverted feeling is triggered, and she laughs. You know, it's like, oh wow, you know. So that's fun being able to see that. ESFPs are very playful. They're very fun. So you notice, you know, she's not, you know, she's going along with the flow of it. You know, she's being playful. She's, you know, interacting with the crowd. You know what I mean? And she did this signal, like looking like she's looking, and that just speaks to the senses, that extroverted sensing.
Wait, hold on a second. I have a question for you, Dave.
Yeah.
Are you married?
No, I'm not married. But these guys. These guys
I just
give
wanted to know.
optimism a bad name.
I wanted to know which ones I should really keep my eye on and which ones I should discard completely.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
The ones that cheer for both of us, I'm a little concerned.
What do you think, Larry? I say laughing. I can see it a tiny bit.
Yep.
Here, a little bit, but not so much. Looks more like Paulie D from Jersey Shore.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. Bit of hair work, like you did flicking hair. Can you show us on camera? Like, people need to see this. They can get the moves.
I kind of move. I kind of.
There you go.
It kind of annoys our hair person because she'll do it and kind of make it all
Amazing, and then he just
move it around.
moves
Yeah.
it.
So that's the secret. There you
She
go.
hates me.
So as you can see, even in this communication, it's very down to earth, very just sensory. You know, they're not saying a bunch of ideas. They're not trying to over communicate. There's not a lot of extroverted feeling either. It's them being present in their environment and being playful and being willing to communicate. And I think that's what ESFPs are. That's their essence there. I'll let this finish out.
Hang on about you guys being hooked to old ladies as well.
That's more so Harry.
Yes.
Not more so me. Yeah, he likes an old woman
Fair enough.
sometimes.
Yes. You're open to it. Most ages.
Not most ages. What's your rule, Harry? Let's move on. Anything what? Younger than? No. No? Right.
Did you notice the rude signs? Like, what are you taking back with you?
Well, I kind of walked in when we landed. We kind of walked through the airport and thought, do you know what? I bet all these stereotypes are going to be far from the truth. It's not going to be anything like what you think it's going to be like. The first thing you walk in, there's a massive picture of a kangaroo as soon as you walk in the airport.
Nothing's
Yeah, we're improv men.
So I think this is just cool for you to get an idea of the ESFP aesthetic. Now, you saw it in these videos. There wasn't anybody talking about these super deep ideas. There wasn't anybody trying to convince you to do anything. There wasn't this super extroverted feeling or this super extroverted intuition with all these ideas, or this, you know, super extroverted, whatever, like extroverted thinking. What you see with ESFPs is what extroverted sensing looks like. Like extroverted sensing wants to observe the environment and wants to see what's going on. They want to experience and do things. So when they're engaged in conversations and ideas, they can do that, but you can see how much they are present in the environment. And that's what you'll notice is the main quality with extroverted sensing, is a very present function. So now, who is the ESFP? So to be quite frank, the ESFP, they thrive on excitement and stimulation. They want to be stimulated. You know, they love to communicate with people, do things, go out there and experience stuff. You know, that's one of their superpowers, man. They can really. I had a friend that's an ESFP that once said, you know, he was like, man, you know, sometimes I wish I could fly. Like he's like, I feel like I can fly. You know, sometimes I wish I could just take up off the ground and fly. And that's what extroverted sensing is all about. Is this extra level of energy and connection to the sensory environment where you feel is one with it. And as a result, you want to, you know, be one with it. You want to do things that make you feel alive. You want to push the limits and, you know, feed your senses. And so those are some of the things that happen. They have a natural talent for connecting with others and bringing energy to social gatherings. And they excel in creative pursuits. They actually enjoy living in the moment, which makes them adept at navigating the unpredictable nature of life. And that's a part of what makes them able to take risks and makes them the type of people that, you know, are brave and bold. You know what I mean? So let's check out this video here and kind of get some aspects of ESFPs on television. Like, what kind of energy do they have, as characters on shows?
Hello, Felix, gay friend.
Acting coach.
Can't be here. Okay, I like need some money.
Now you notice he's touching the thing, pricked his finger. Like, you'll notice that. What you'll notice is they're engaged in their senses. They're exploring, they're interfacing with reality and testing it. And that's for the great, and it could be for the bad at times. But regardless, they're always learning through that.
Ahoy, ladies! Didn't see you there. Would you guys like to set sail on this ocean of flavor with me? I'll be your captain.
Hey man,
You can see the playfulness, the willing to communicate, being direct in their communication, and that actually being playful,
That was my shot, you dick. Sorry. I've seen people do it in films.
Guess what? You're not going to believe this.
You paid for your own dinner.
Are you insane? But he's a doctor. Oh no, the giant's angry.
You see the playfulness.
You're right.
I look a woman up and down and I say, hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, baby. How you doing? 7 skin rolls.
See that smile on their face, their playfulness. And don't get me wrong. Look, ESFPs, when they're upset, you're gonna get that other side of the extroverted sensing, right? Which can be aggressive. It can be confrontational, but in most cases they have that introverted feeling second, and they're aiming to have quality experiences with people. They don't like to be in conflict, and this is why in most cases you see them being playful and delving with the environment, because that's their natural element. When they're not in grip, when they're not super stressed out, that's what you see.
Don't you know taking a picture of a gay man unannounced is a hate crime? I want to look cute.
What is your favorite season? Awards.
And I like that part because that shows you how present ESFPs are. He's like, do you know that'll get you in trouble? And then she shows them the picture. It looks nice. The senses capture that, and then they forget it. They're on to the next. They're like, oh, that look cute. So that's one thing you got to realize with extroverted sensing. It's very present. It's not really connecting different ideas together in the present moment. It's looking at each moment as an independent moment in time and embracing it for what it is. And that's what allows them to be so presently focused and really able to get the most out of each moment, because there aren't ideas clouding their vision. So I think that's special.
What does burning smell like?
We get quiet for 1 minute. You guys think that we're obsessing about the relationship, and all we're thinking is, I wonder if there's any more cheese. Can I be?
I love this because some of these characters I know, some of these characters you may know, and I could tell they're ESFPs. Like on that last show, Shameless, that guy I knew from the beginning, he was always an ESFP, and I think that's so cool that they're able to capture these different characters. So some of these you might know, a lot of these you might not, but for the ones you do know, you'll notice a quality where you could say, oh man, okay, I can see what ESFPs look like to that person.
Perfectly honest with you guys. Detective Bell, homicide.
Crystal, all right. Ready for this.
I think I went too far with this.
Where you going? I'm gonna keep this.
I'm gonna go do my job.
You make me coffee because I'm going to be your boss and you get people do that.
What are you doing?
Practicing.
Or what?
When my future is homeless, I throw you up the stairs.
You found his body and
You remember me?
Oh, it burns. love me more than hearing a poem recited in a deep, sensual, natural voice.
I got a poem.
I don't
And once again, I think this is just so cool because you get to see what ESFPs do for the people around them. You know, they really can be a beacon of joy and hope and for people in their environment, you know, at their best. So I think that's really cool. All right, so let's go. So now let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses, and that's what's very important when it comes to this type because at their best, they can be outgoing and sociable. We know that. That's what they're going to be at their best. Spontaneous at their normal, honestly. That's just how they are. They're spontaneous and adventurous, as you can see through the videos we saw. Charismatic and expressive, optimistic and enthusiastic. They have the capacity to be optimistic because they have that introverted feeling that is that wants to feel good, that wants to hope that there's more possibilities. And they have the extroverted thinking to find different thoughts and ideas to make them feel optimistic. So they have that ability and they're adaptable. You know, they have extroverted sensing. Extroverted sensing is a very adaptable function. It's willing to go out there in the environment and try to find what it needs to succeed. Now, in terms of weaknesses, and we got to talk about that with the ESFPs, impulsiveness is going to be a big one because they have extroverted sensing first. So that function doesn't really have, they don't have intuition that high. Intuition is their lowest function. So when it comes to piecing together the big picture and, having the patience to implement these systems and things of that nature to get what they want, that can be hard because their extroverted sensing can be like, it's right there. I want it. And that's why you notice in some of the communications that we saw, like they get straight to the point, like, hey, you're hot. Let's get together right now. Right. And that's like impulsive. But that's what he's feeling in the moment with introverted feeling. And he doesn't really know what other idea to go to. So he's like, I'm just going to say what I feel. And that is also what makes him very attractive to a certain degree is their willingness to communicate their truths. And they are that kind of person that has that primal energy that is very grounded in reality and connected to those animal functions, eating good, having great experiences, seeing beautiful things, things like that really get them going. So that naturally can make them more impulsive because they're, it's harder for them to wait. When they want things, because that extroverted sensing wants it in the present moment. It wants it in its environment, and its introverted feeling wants it. So that's something to keep in mind for you guys. They can be attention seeking. I think that's mainly in when they're imbalanced. And what we'll see here in this video is what happens when ESFPs are in their grip, which is when they're dealing with a lot of stress and anxiety in their main functions, they're having a hard time with those. They'll tend to, their demon shadow side will show, and they'll be operating in their lower functions. And you're going to get to see what that looks like. Some other weaknesses to keep in mind: dislike for routine. So obviously that can be a problem because it obviously requires routines for us to, have a society that operates functionally. And they have a difficulty with long-term planning. And that just speaks to intuition being their lowest function. Intuition is all about what's going to happen in the future. And so when extroverted intuition, which is basically the function that's thinking about what's going to happen way in the future and trying to do things now based on what it wants to get in the future, for ESFPs, that's going to be extremely hard for them to do. They can't really project that far into the future generally because that's not natural for them. And so, that can make it hard for them to plan for things that require that long-term planning. So if you are an ESFP, that's where you want to lean on the people around you. You want to keep good people around you. You want to, you can ask for help. You can work with someone that can assist you with planning. And that would be very helpful. Put yourself in a position to mitigate your weaknesses so that you can be your best self. And they can be sensitive to criticism. And that's that introverted feeling being second. At times they can take criticism as if, it's a personal attack. Sometimes they won't have the intuition to look at it from a bigger picture. And they can look at it as somebody's just making them feel like they're doing wrong. And they don't really know what to do with that energy. It can feel trapped. And that's what can allow them to bubble up and be very upset and respond negatively to criticism. So that is something to keep in mind as well. And now what we're going to do is look at this video here of an ESFP that's going through stress. And I want everyone to see how they are and how these characters are when they're in their grip, so that you can notice when you're acting agitated or when you're not feeling balanced. And people might look at you like, yo, what's going on? You could say, oh, okay, I must be going through my grip right now, or going through something, anxiety. So what do I got to do? I got to balance myself. And that's where we'll talk about that in the next slide, about the loops that you want to avoid and the balance that you want to seek as an ESFP. But let's go ahead and check out this video.
May I help you? Well, I'm just checking things out. Are you looking for something in particular?
No, well, yeah. Something conservative.
Yes.
You got nice stuff.
Thank you.
How much is this?
I don't think this would fit you.
Well, I didn't ask if it would fit. I asked how much.
So there we go. They said an environment with a bunch of rules can be tough for an ESFP. That can agitate them, because, you know, extroverted sensing wants to explore. An introverted feeling, though, is that authenticity function. And it's like, I want to explore as my authentic self. And if someone's putting them in a position where they have to meet these certain criteria, it can feel unnatural for them, and it can limit their ability to explore, and that can make them frustrated.
How much it was.
How much is this, Marie?
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive.
Look, I got money to spend in here.
I don't think we have anything for you. You're obviously in the wrong place. Please leave.
Excuse me, miss, may I help you?
I'm going to my room.
Do you have a key?
Oh, I forgot that cardboard thing. I'm on the top floor.
You're a guest here?
Being forced to make commitments and planning can make them frustrated. So with ESFPs, like, a lot of the time, they're going to use their creativity to get where they need to go. But when there's situations where, oh, this has to be planned out, you know, you need to have this, and that can be difficult for them, because that, once again, requires that intuition or that introverted sensing to go back and figure out what you need. And they also have introverted sensing low. It's their fifth function. So they can access it, but it's not one of their main four functions. So you can see they want to be present and do things in the moment. They are what you would call capitalists. Like, they want to capitalize in real time. In terms of that definition of being a capitalist, you know, they want to capitalize on the moment. But the way society is set up, there are systems in place that you must have things prepared and you must have things organized in order to do, you know, to move forward. And this is what she's experiencing.
I'm with a friend.
And who would that be?
Edward.
Edward.
And you notice she's getting a lot of questions, right? And this is a lot of intuition being thrown at her, so that already can ruffle some feathers.
Edward, he knows me.
Dennis. Yeah. Dennis, did you just come off the night shift?
Yes, sir.
Do you know this young lady?
She's with Mr. Lewis.
Mr. Lewis.
That's it. Edward Lewis. Thanks, Dennis.
She joined him last night.
Thank you.
Oh, God, what now? What? What is with everybody today?
Come with me and have a little chat.
I'm
Thank
coming.
you, Dennis. Thank you. And what is your name, miss?
What do you want it to be?
Come play with
That's an introverted feeling, being frustrated.
me, young lady.
Vivian.
Thank you. Vivian. Well, Miss Vivian, the things that go on in other hotels don't happen at the Regent Beverly Wilshire. Mr. Lewis, however, is a very special customer, and we like to think of our special customers as friends. Now, as a customer, we would expect Mr. Lewis to sign in any additional guests, but as a friend, we're willing to overlook it. Now, I'm assuming that you're a relative?
Yes.
I thought so. Then you must be his
Niece?
Of course. Naturally, when Mr. Lewis leaves, I won't see you in this hotel again. I assume you have no other uncles here? Good, then we understand each other. I would also encourage you to dress a little more appropriately. That'll be all.
No, that's not all. That's what I was trying to do. I tried to go get a dress on Rodeo Drive today, and the women wouldn't help me. And I have all this money now and no dress. Not that I expect you to help me, but I have all of this, okay? I have to buy a dress for dinner tonight, and nobody will help me.
You notice that she's not leaning on intuition to try to figure it out. She's like, this is what I'm going through right now in the moment. And she's explaining her problems to him because that's who's in her present moment. But you'll be surprised to find out that actually can create opportunities as well. You know, every type is moving through the world using their functions and making things happen. And let's see what happens here.
Oh man, if you were calling the cops, yeah, call the cops. That's great. Tell them I said hi.
Now this is big with ESFPs. They have introverted intuition 4th, and they have extroverted intuition 8th. And what I notice is sometimes, a lot of times, they can come to incorrect intuitions because they don't use it enough. And so a lot of the time when they use intuition, it's like tunnel vision to a bad outcome, because the functions that are lower, you more so use them more weaker. So they don't give you the best version of themselves. They give you like a weaker version. So like their intuition is more so like, oh man, this negative thing's going to happen. Right. And I've noticed that with ESFPs, sometimes, they can come to these intuition conclusions that are incorrect because they're not as tapped into that intuition. So it's important, if you are an ESFP, get insight from people that you trust. Keep a few people with intuition around you, or just utilize your environment to get more insight and context so that you can come to better conclusions. And that will make you very powerful. So I noticed the ESFPs that are very productive and successful keep very good people around them that can help them in the areas that they may struggle in.
Women's clothing. Bridget, please. Yes, Bridget, hello. This is Barnard Thompson here at the Regent Beverly Will. Thank you. Yes, but I'd like you to do a favor for me, please. I'm sending someone over. Her name is Vivian. She's a special guest. She's the niece of a very special guest.
All right, so there we go. Now, these are the loops, and this is very important for ESFPs to understand. You have extroverted sensing, you have extroverted thinking. Now, where you can go get into trouble with the loop of extroverted sensing, extroverted thinking is when you just want to go and explore with the environment and you want to just communicate and go out in the environment, but you're not managing your personal affairs. So anybody that has extroverted sensing first has the capacity to be too engaged in overindulging in their senses. And they can go into a space where they're engaging their senses, looking at what happened, and because it's a negative outcome and they're not feeling good, they're going to delve deeper into their senses and maybe negative habits. And then their thinking gets more negative, and then they continue to do that, and they get into the cycle where their extroverted thinking is negative because they're continuing to have these sensory experiences that are making them feel negative. So it's very important that as a ESFP, you have to work with your introverted feeling and introverted intuition to stay grounded. You need to make sure that you feel connected to your purpose and feel as though the things that you're doing aligns with your purpose. Your introverted intuition is your vision. Like, where do you want to be? And your introverted feeling is going to keep you connected to that vision. Like, man, I need to stay connected to doing the right thing so that I get where I want to go. But if you're in a cycle where you're ignoring your feelings and ignoring your intuition just so you can have experiences, and that overpowers it too much, you're going to become imbalanced. And that's where you end up in situations where you're in extreme situations. You're in situations you don't need to be in because you're not balanced. You're too engaged in the sensory. You're too out there. You're talking to too many people. You're too much out there, and you're not operating from a place of, balance. So that's key. And then the other loop that's going to be very big is when they're in a bad spiral of introverted feeling and introverted intuition. And what that boils down to is you just are stuck on, you're feeling bad because you think there's going to be a bad outcome, and you're just stuck. In those situations, I've seen ESFPs that don't want to go out and explore, that don't want to engage in their senses, that don't see anything to think about. They're so trapped in their feeling, and all they see is one direction and negativity. Sometimes they actually manifest that for themselves because they're not allowing themselves to be like, hey, look, I know you're not feeling good. I know things aren't looking good. But if you use your thinking, and if you, use that extroverted thinking and put yourself around the positive things, use your extroverted sensing to put you in spaces and environments that inspire you. Don't just be laying around. Like, I've seen some ESFPs in very bad environments, and they don't leave those environments. They stay there, and they have so much potential, but because of who they're surrounded with, they're limited. And you don't want to be in that scenario where you're seeing nothing but a negative outcome, and then you end up creating that for yourself. So always, when you're in your worst spiral and you're feeling negative, always seek out other perspectives and seek out positive information. And that's where your extroverted thinking as the third function is going to help to bridge the gap between your negative feelings now and a positive growth outcome. But you have to veer away from that negative thinking and that negative intuition. You don't want to depend on that. You want to trust that, you know what, I'm going to put myself in good spaces and things are going to get better. And you'll be surprised what kind of stuff happens. So now let's talk about the gift of ESFPs. It's simple. Your gift is strength. Okay. ENFPs are generally gritty and willing to do whatever it takes to accomplish their goals if they believe in something. They have the extroverted sensing. Extroverted sensing is all about willpower. They have the willpower to make things happen. That is their gift. They have more willpower than, I'd say, over 75 to 80% of the types. They have the ability to really fight. You know, I put things here like working out, that tiger, you know, that strength, that locked in strength. You know, if they have their eye focused on getting somewhere, they will do whatever it takes to get there. You know, their connection with the physical world paired with the strong thinking capabilities pushes them to take a bold approach toward their goals. As you can see in the videos we watched, everybody was willing to communicate their truths. They had a presence in the environment. Their presence is felt. They stand out. They have that gritty toughness. They're willing to be in environments, that are different. You know what I mean? They're just willing to be themselves. They're willing to be authentic, and people admire that. And that's all comes as a product of their strength and willingness to be who they are, regardless of what people think. You know, they take life head on and they create magical situations for themselves because of this inner strength that resonates with those around them. People feel the strength of the ESFP. You know, people feel that internal strength, but what's so beautiful about it is it's also paired with creativity and playfulness. So it's not this type of strength that wants to fight everybody and it's rah. You know, it's the strength that isn't too it's a certain type of strength that isn't too, like, well, the word I'm looking for, I can't find it, but essentially that isn't pushing itself on the environment. It's not obtrusive, you know, and it's not intrusive. It still is them being comfortable in their own space, and if you happen to be around them, you can feel the wonderful joy that they can bring to different situations, and that power that they bring to it, that strength and that grit. Like you have an ESFP on your team and you can do magical things as long as they're willing to embrace their extroverted thinking and be able to communicate and hear your perspective. And as long as they, are willing to work with you in terms of, you know, the intuitive aspects, willing to stretch their mind to hear different ideas, nobody can stop this type. So strength is the gift of the ESFP and you're born with it. And your hidden power is your resourcefulness. And I think that needs to be spoken on because ESFPs, you know, they can be counted on. You know, I don't know why it says ESFPs can't be counted out. Oh, okay, there we go. I was about to say, I know I didn't say ESFPs can't be counted on. Like, of course, ESFPs can definitely be counted on, and ESFPs can't be counted out. When their mind is set, they will find a way to make things happen. They are equipped with a tunnel vision, and that's a product of that introverted intuition. So they do still have that intuition. Don't get it wrong. They are moving toward a direction, and they're using their extroverted thinking to get there, and they're using their introverted feeling to be the passion that drives them there. And the beautiful thing about that extroverted sensing is that it's going to take advantage of the moment to make something happen. It's not going to just go to the environment and then be like, oh, what do I do? No. They're going to seize the opportunities, you know, and seize the possibilities, of what is out there in the moment. And that's what makes them very bold. And that's what makes them so resourceful, is that while others are so dependent on others, ESFPs can pull gems out of the environment that people didn't even know was there, because they're willing to engage with the environment and see what's possible. By that girl, even in her grit, even in her worst feeling, or one of her worst feelings, she was just honest. This is how I feel. And look, a whole opportunity opens up for her. So ESFPs get that, they have that luck factor to them, especially when they are, you know, operating in their power and in their balance, you really get to see them shine. They are fueled with an inner passion to achieve, their desires. And that's that introverted feeling. That's their second function. I think people need to understand introverted feeling as your second function means you are very deep. You feel very deeply. You empathize for people. So that naturally makes you a people person. You care about people. You know the pains that exist out there. And that's what makes you a champion for the people around you a lot of times. And when focused and disciplined, they can be very successful and magnetic. And that's what I want to leave the ESFPs with. You have the capacity to be very magnetic, very successful. People believe in you, and people enjoy you being around. It's your job to self-regulate so that you bring your best self to the picture so that you can really be of help and service to the people around you. Because your strength and your resourcefulness will allow you to be a beacon of light and power for those around you. And so look, take this serious. I want all the ESFPs out there to continue to work on themselves, continue to watch this again, understand your functions, keep studying MBTI so that you can balance out those functions, that intuition and that thinking. The more that you work on MBTI and learn the different functions, you'll be able to access more and more of that. Next thing you know, like I know some ESFPs that are actually quite intuitive and they are very good with ideas, and that's a product of them pushing their mind. And you have the capacity to do that. So that's a shout out to all the ESFPs. We're going to move on to the next type, which is the ISFPs, which is like, once again, the sister or cousin or whatever of the ESFPs. So let's move on to the next video. And once again, shout out to the ESFPs. Keep being great. And I will see you in the next video.